The GOP convention is next week. This week, Republicans across the country are gathered to debate and decide an official party platform for the 2016 election. This includes issues ranging from immigration to marriage and family values, to criminal justice reform, the military, ISIS, and the economy. The RNC also revealed some of the speakers who will appear at the convention, including Senator Ted Cruz, Governor Scott Walker, Speaker Paul Ryan, Congresswoman Joni Ernst, and several members of the Trump family. Check it out.
CNN, which claims to have received a draft of the party platform ahead of the Republican National Convention, reports the party would leave it up to the states. But the platform would still say the government should recognize marriage as between a man and woman and actively promote married family life as the basis of a stable and prosperous society. And it would still call for a reversal of the Supreme Court's decision last year that legalized same-sex marriage.
And I'm not saying anything, and I'm not telling even Newt anything, but I can tell you, in one form or another, Newt Gingrich is going to be involved with our government. That I can tell you.
Joining me now is Vice President and Chief Investigative Officer of the Capitol Research Center, Stephen J. Allen. Stephen, good to see you.
Good to see you.
All right, Stephen, I want to go down the GOP platform here and talk about some of the different aspects. But before we even start doing that, is there anything you expect to be included that would surprise us?
Oh, I think the platform is going to be pretty much along the lines of what it's been in the past. There'll be some adjustments. The Trans-Pacific Partnership, that'll probably be dropped so that to accommodate the views of Donald Trump. And you'll have, maybe a couple of other areas. They'll insert something about the wall, perhaps, on the immigration issue. But mainly it's going to stay the way it is. Parties tend to be very conservative, small c conservative, not wanting to change things in that regard.
Right, and that's a consistent Republican Party platform to secure the border, even if Donald Trump has hijacked the phrasing of that to build a big wall. The securing of the border is standard for Republicans. One of the things I wanted to ask you about is the platform to repeal the Supreme Court ruling on gay marriage. I think that's probably going to be the most controversial part. Is that going to help or hurt Republicans in the election?
Oh, I think people generally accept that the traditionalist conservatives, the religious conservatives, are mostly in the Republican Party, that's part of the Republican platform. People, overall in the country, we've now shifted toward people being in favor of same-sex marriage, but it's not something that most people would vote based on. A few people would, of course, on either side of the issue, but it's more a thing that sort of shows you which party is on the great cultural issues of the day, and that's the impact it's going to have, I think.
Right, I would agree with that. I think that's a fairly fair analysis. One of the most important parts, or the most relevant parts, I would say, that I think the Republican Party has a great advantage of this election cycle is their support of law enforcement, because given especially the Dallas shooting several days ago, the response from Republican politicians and the Republican Party has been just incomparably stronger than the Democratic response.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is just astonishing that the Democrats have allowed, I think, themselves to get into a trap. The vast majority of people are going to be generally supportive of the police. They're going to think of the police as as heroes for the most part. Obviously, there's a small number of bad eggs, but I think most people accept that police officers do the best they can. There's no evidence to support any kind of race war. All the statistical evidence says that's not the case. And I think for the Democrats to line with people who are, radicals in the streets, that probably is not going to be good for them.
No, because it gives people, I think people want independence and they want security. And in that sense, Democrats are betraying the feeling of security, because not supporting our law enforcement or softly condemning in a way that's not very strong these protesters who might be prone to violence is not something that's going to make people feel secure. Let's talk about the speakers for a second. So speakers, a lot of the Trump family is lined up to speak at the Republican National Convention. Actually, most of his immediate family, he himself, obviously, as presumptive nominee, but then Ivanka, his daughter, Eric, his son, Tiffany, his younger daughter, and his wife. What do you think of that?
Well, I think it's part of the effort to, personalize the candidate, make this someone that people are comfortable with. I think they'll probably do a good job. There's certainly, they have people who are experts on PR, and Donald Trump is a very good expert on that himself. I think they're going to create an image that's a little bit softer. You're going to hear more about people who, for example, women that Donald Trump put in key positions in his organization, other people, minorities and so forth, that he's put in key positions in his organization. And then they're going to show the family, and you're going to see, I think, everyone who's seen, particularly Ivanka, very, very impressed with her, and as sort of a future for the Republican Party that people would find attractive.
Right, of the entire Trump family, I got to say, personally, I'm most excited to hear Ivanka speak. I can't wait for her speech. I think it's going to be great. It's going to be the Trump show, but I think it's going to be a good one. There are some pretty notable no-shows for the convention, though. Former President George W. Bush, his father, H.W. Bush, John McCain, Mitt Romney, all not going to be attending the GOP convention in Cleveland, but we do have some celebrities and sports stars that are going to be there. Bobby Knight, actually, is slated to speak. Anybody else that you expect to surprise us?
Oh, I think there'll be, some celebrities. There's a lot of pressure for, say, if you're in Hollywood and you're still trying to get acting jobs, you might not be someone who would be inclined to endorse Trump even if you wanted to. But I think there are enough people who are around who are either at a position where they're invulnerable to that sort of attack, or they're retired, whatever. You're gonna see some interesting folks there. And I think one of the things about Trump is that he pulls from folks who wouldn't necessarily be attracted to a traditional Republican candidate as a cross-party appeal, and so I think there could very well be some surprises among the celebrities there as well.
So basically, what you're saying in plain English is celebrities or sports stars who feel like they have nothing to lose. That's a very positive spin on it. Stephen, we're almost out of time, so let me ask you one last quick question. This is about Trump's vice presidential pick. He may actually announce this before the convention, but here's a list of the people who seem to be his top choices. That's Newt Gingrich, Chris Christie, Jeff Sessions, General Mike Flynn, and Governor Mike Pence. Who's your pick?
Well, I have to say I'm biased. I was the senior researcher for Newt's presidential campaign 4 years ago, but I think I can honestly say if I could stand back and look at this objectively, not having that connection, I would still go with Newt. That's the person who can be out there every day fighting for Trump, can represent him well, has the most knowledge of issues, would be able to get his program through Congress best of all. I just think, and he would bring in many of the conservatives who have questions about Trump. So overall, I would just say that that's by far the strongest pick.
Right, and I'm going to have to echo you here. My money's on Newt Gingrich for his VP pick. Just listen to Trump, how he's been talking about him the last few days, and I think that's the guy he's going to go with. Stephen, thanks so much for being here. We're out of time, but it was great to talk to you. Our next tipping point with Kevin O'Brien is the new Black Panthers party. Stick with us. We'll be back in a minute.